Alright guys, this is a bit different to the videos that I usually do, in that I'm gonna be talking about Everton today and what's going wrong there in my opinion. As we all know, Everton are currently sitting in the relegation zone with 29 points, and for a squad that has spent over 500 million in the past 5 or 6 years, they should be nowhere near that. And I'm going to try and explain in a bit of depth what I think is the personal problems there. I might be completely wrong, because obviously I'm not an Everton fan. This is just from the outside looking in, really, so like a non-biased opinion. If there's any Everton fans who watch this who know more than me, obviously, let me know, because I ain't going to go into mega depth because I don't know all the ins and outs of what's going wrong, but hopefully we can get to a bit of sense of what is currently happening at Everton Football Club. As I said, Everton are currently sitting 18th in the Premier League, which, with the money they've spent, and they do have quite a decent side. They have some good players, a lot of international players in there. They should not be sitting in the relegation zone. In my opinion, a club as big as Everton should be in the top 10 easily, but that's my opinion. As we saw, I watched them against Liverpool, and in fairness, I don't think they looked too bad against Liverpool, but then I didn't think Liverpool looked amazing. I thought Everton did give it a good go, but Liverpool just have a bit too much, which was to be expected. I think Everton fans would admit that they expected to lose that game because Liverpool are obviously one of the high flyers. But I thought they gave it a good go, especially in the first half. I thought Everton defended really well. It was like every man behind the ball. But I think that Frank Lampard has took on a really big task, and we know Frank Lampard is a decent manager, but not for the Premier League, really. I think we saw that when he came to Chelsea and he was a bit out of his depth, but he was a good manager at Derby, which is telling me that the owners are planning on potentially going down or something, like the planning for the worst, because they know that he can succeed in the Championship. I don't think personally Everton will go down. I think they're too strong. I think they'll just about escape it, because I think with what's going on at Burnley at the moment, even though they won the other day, I think it's going to be a bit difficult without Sean Dyche, because we all know how good of a manager he is. But I think they might just edge it and finish 17th, 16th roughly. I think they easily have enough to go over Burnley and Leeds, maybe, if Leeds lose tonight against Crystal Palace. I think that it's going to be a big ask. I mean, from what I researched, they have, I think their squad value since September last year was about 400 million plus. I don't know how true that is. That's just what I've read on the internet. But I think that with some of the players you have, I think it is kind of justified, because players like Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin and all that, they are good players on their day. It's just they really lack consistency, especially this season with Richarlison, and obviously Dominic Calvert-Lewin has suffered injuries and that. And I think there's some players who don't perform for you but perform better for like their international teams, i.e. your goalie Pickford. I think that if you do go down, it will be honestly a massive shock, because I think Everton are a massive club and also one of the big clubs in the league, and to see them in the Championship potentially is honestly shocking, because I think the running for the last few games is not the best. But as I said, I still think you might have enough to escape it, because obviously you're only 2 points behind Burnley still, but they do also have a better goal difference. I think, obviously, if you did go down to the Championship, I think you will come straight back up, because Everton are obviously too big for the Championship. We all know that. I think there's just been a lot of turmoil since for a bit at the club now, because I don't think Everton have reached the expectations for a while. I might be wrong, because obviously I don't follow the Premier League all too much, but from what I've saw or heard, I think they haven't been achieving the most for the past few years since I think new owners came in 2016. I might be wrong, but yeah, I think that there's a lot of problems going on behind the scenes. The fact that you've had two very good managers before, Frank Lampard in Benitez and Ancelotti, and even they couldn't really get this team going. And you've had three managers this season alone. I mean, I know one was Duncan Ferguson for 2 weeks, obviously just stepping in for when Benitez got sacked, I think. And then Lampard came in on the 31st of January. But I don't know if Lampard was the right job to steady you afloat. As I said, I know he's a decent manager, but is he out his depth at the moment? Maybe. I think the Premier League's a bit too much of a step up. I think he needs to build his trade. I mean, he didn't do the worst with Chelsea. I think he got hated a bit too much at Chelsea. I know when he first came in, Everton fans were really happy. But has there been an improvement since he came in? Obviously not, or you wouldn't be sitting in the relegation zone. But I think there's probably a lot more to it. I think there's a lot of players who don't want to play for the club and that you'll need to get rid of. And if you do go down to the Championship, there is a lot of players that are naturally going to leave anyway, and it's going to be a whole rebuild for Everton. But obviously you'll get the come down money from going down to the Championship, which I don't think you need because you already have a lot of money, but it's going to also take a lot of money out the club because of players obviously going to be leaving for cheaper than what they're worth because they're Championship players now, in my opinion. I think that's how it's going to work. I might be wrong. But I think there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes at Everton because we're talking about Everton sitting in 18th in the Premier League when we really shouldn't. Everton have always been that stable Premier League club. And years ago, we was talking about a team that finished in the top 6 quite a lot. So if there is any Everton fans who are watching this, let me know what you think, because obviously I don't know greater details. I've done a bit of research and everything, but I don't know in depth. I'm going to put a bunch of like the statistics and that at the end of the video of like how much they've spent, and that according to Google. I don't know if it's true. And yeah, I think it's going to be a big ask to get out the relegation zone, but I think you can do it. It's just depending on how you go into the last few games, because obviously there isn't many games left to get out of it. But you, as I said, you're only 2 points out. So, but it would be mental. I think even if you do stay up, you've obviously had a really poor season. I think there still needs to be a rebuild done, because I still think there will be a fair few players potentially leaving because they'll see the fact that, okay, we nearly got relegated, there's no progression here. So yeah, Everton fans, let me know what you think. And yeah, I might be wrong on a lot of this, but I've tried my best. I've read up a bit about it and that. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say, guys. Peace.